Looking at the number 2, Johannes van Overbeek, he comes to pit road. Everyone around him has already made their pit stop, so now it's van Overbeek's turn, the number 2. Honda power in the back of the Ligier chassis down to the marks, and Mark Goossens now behind the wheel of the 90. Felipe Albuquerque behind the wheel of the 5, and Dane Cameron stays in the 31.
Yeah, that's interesting, Albuquerque getting in the 5.
I think it may say something about Joao Barbosa's hand. We talked about that earlier, and this is the best shot Siegel has had. Siegel in the Ferrari, Farnbacher in the Porsche, and Siegel is through, just pushes him a little wide. You saw it flinch, but this is not over.
I don't know if his headlights were in his mirror, but Mario took a tight line into 1 and didn't get off 1 very well.
And then Siegel able to pounce as they headed into Christensen corners. Smoke, couldn't tell if that was brake smoke there into the hairpin out of Farnbacher's Porsche, but you could see it in the headlights of the prototype behind.
He's falling back. That car shouldn't generate brake smoke, right?
No, you wouldn't think it would, not with ABS. Well, I think maybe it's just brake smoke off the rotors. I saw it off of Jeff Siegel's car under heavy braking there as well. Take a look. Farnbacher staying tight to driver's left. Siegel's going to take the long way away around. He just kind of sets him up.
Gets in too hot. Look at that.
The over-under. Just drives him in there deeper than Farnbacher wants to go, and Siegel able to cut back underneath. That gives him the inside line into 3 and finishes the job. Interesting, Farnbacher has not been able to stay. We talked about a little bit of smoke, and perhaps that was just brake dust. And you can see that clearly in the lights of the prototype behind, but it seems like once Jeff Siegel has gotten past in the 488 Ferrari, he's been able to pull out a little bit to see if Farnbacher can respond. They're on the exact same pit strategy, so if it's tires for Farnbacher, what that's going to tell you is that the Ferrari wears the Continentals just a little bit better, maybe a little better, obviously a better weight distribution in the car with not having the engine to the rear.
That 488 has been nothing but impressive. They did not introduce it at Daytona because they had so few miles on it. Shows up here, sets on the pole, and here we are with under 2 hours to go, making a pass for the lead.
Well, Jeff Siegel was on the pole in the 63. Nothing but smiles on his face when you talk to him about that car. And I hate to say this, having seen what happened to Lamborghinis after Daytona, but you wonder if there isn't something even more available. I'm not saying that they're sandbagging. I'm saying the car's so new that every lap that they turn it gives them more data and more information to make it better the next time they head to the racetrack. The 5, Felipe Albuquerque behind the wheel, back in the lead. Dane Cameron not letting him get away. What are they thinking down in Action Express, Andrew?
Well, this is, it got pretty intense out there, especially there's no light. It's a lot harder to drive in the night, obviously, than it is during the day, but Action Express gave me an awesome car. And I tried to capitalize on it as much as I could. There's an hour and 45 to go right now. For example, Philippe is going to run until the very end, and we'll see what we can get out of this thing.
You're impressed with Felipe? He's doing a great job.
Well, we already had full confidence in Felipe before he came on board for the 24. When he did the 24, like, he pretty much fit like a glove. It's like Joao and myself all over again, and we worked very well together, and it has been awesome. These 2 races have been awesome, the 24 and this one, and when you manage to work with teammates like that, it definitely makes your life a lot less hard in the work.
Christian, you've been racing a very long time now, but you still seem to be really relishing it, loving it.
Oh, absolutely. Nowadays, more than ever. The pressure I have nowadays is with myself to perform at the highest level. And while I'm I can still do a good job, especially in comparison to people that are 20 years younger than I am. I'm going to continue running. It doesn't matter if I'm 48, 50, 55. Like a fair example of that, Scott Pruitt. He's 55 and he's a great driver. He does an awesome job. So hats off to him, and hopefully hats off to me also.
Thanks very much. Fittipaldi's a great dynasty of racing.
I was going to say, that sounded like a familiar story because it's exactly what Scott Pruitt said earlier. As long as I can keep doing the lap time, and even Bill Auberlen, they're going to have to get rid of me because I'm old, not because I'm not doing the lap time anymore. So these guys still have a passion, and I think that's the word. It's a passion for motorsports. Taking a look there, the two cars in the lead.
See what happens.
Yep.
You got the two leads. So there's those two GTD cars that have been battling so hard.
Albuquerque
caught him at a pretty good spot.
gives you an idea of the closing rate between the prototypes and the GTD cars, but when you watch them down the straightaway, if they come onto the straightaway at the same speed, the 31 car now working between the two GTD cars, Dane Cameron, and they'll get down the straightaway, and by the time they get to the end of it, you'll not see the prototypes beginning to continue to pull away. That delta will stay pretty much the same.
Talk about throwing a guy. You got to have a lot of confidence in Felipe Albuquerque. You should. I mean, he's a factory Audi LMP1 driver, but to get in a car he's not very familiar with a guy behind him who's as sharp as they come right now, and Dane Cameron, who's already been in the car for a stint, warmed up, and Albuquerque jumps in, has to get his bearings, has to get his night vision calibrated and all that. Night vision meaning his eyes, and look what he's doing. He's been able to hold the gap right at a second and a half. Really impressive.
So the 68 of Pierre Guidi, the GTLM entry 488 on pit road being serviced, and there's Jeff Siegel with the green highlights on the car, and the 31 car now working through. Talked about that just a little bit earlier. And this is where it's difficult when you're fighting with somebody, you got headlights, and then the leaders come up, whether it's in a prototype category or a GT category, all of a sudden your mirrors are filled with lights. It's difficult to know which one is your competition and which one is another class car, especially if it's two GT class cars, a GTLM and a GTD.
Are these lights that I should breathe it for a second to let through, or are these lights that I need to fight for position?
Absolutely on board the number 4, Tommy Milner through turn 1. You tell once again the visibility, how limited it is and how difficult it is to see through the carousel. Fast sweeping right and on the way down to the hairpin.
And the question you ask of Andy Lally, this is a great track to race on, even in the nighttime, daytime, especially at night when all these 12 hours are won. But in the rain, it's a whole different story. So let's hope it holds off.
Well, absolutely. You want to see them go for it. You want to see the charge at the end. You don't want to see Mother Nature get involved with it. You want to see the drivers out there taking care of the job at hand, and you don't want to see that wrench get thrown in. Now, okay, they dealt with it in the daylight. That's all well and good, but now in the nighttime hours, let them drive. And how many times have we seen it go down to the bitter end? I can remember races won here in the GT category by Joey Hand not long ago, and the battles that came down to the end in the last couple of laps, and teams double stinting tires and trying to do everything that they can, willing their drivers on, listening to them on the scanners, you know, just trying to coach them, get them in the game, keep them up at 100% so that they can fight all the way to the end when the driver thinks half an hour ago he's done, he's spent. And where do you find that time? When your crew's talking to you in your ear and
well, that's the one thing I never really got. They said, you got to push. I said, what do you think I've been doing? You hear it in the F1 broadcast, the guys get a little testy because it's like, what do you think I'm doing?
Saw this 38 of James French flash by there, and they have had problems all throughout the day, but it's been a battle of attrition in Prototype Challenge. They're being shown third, 3 laps down as Milner comes to pits. And what's amazing to me is that you see the 4 on pit road. If you see another Corvette flash by, you're not imagining things. They were able to affect repairs to the 3, and Mike Rockenfeller, albeit though 33 laps in arrears, they're out there.
Yeah, that's a new fresh air setup, coming straight in the front.
always amazes me how cool, calm, and collected they look sitting there on the pit stop. Yeah, take care of that. Be interesting to see if they pull a tear off. I mean, the visibility out that windscreen wasn't particularly good.
If it was really bad, I think you'd be hollering about that, but
may look worse on the camera.
yeah.
Speaking of the camera, you see that little area on the back of the Corvette that's been cleaned off on each pit stop. A crew member will reach down and wipe that off. That is the rear-facing camera that Corvette developed. They sell it now to other teams as well, but it's got a radar-type system on it. I think Calvin and Greg talked about it earlier. It'll give you an idea of where the traffic is, whether it's to your right or to your left. And the drivers, when they first developed it, said it was the hottest thing since sliced bread, and now I think it's just become such a commonplace item to them that they wouldn't do well without it.
I think he had a shot of that inside the 22 WeatherTech car.
Yep. There's a look at the 912.
Which, did he take over the lead? It was.
We'll have to see how it cycles out. Bamber behind the wheel of the 912. We saw the pit stop for the 4, but it was
the 912 stopped the lap before.
Yeah.
And changed drivers.
So I would think that Tommy Milner's lead was pretty significant at 60 seconds. Understand that 98 will now be penalized, leaving pit lane with the fuel hose attached, which usually, or some piece thereof, which is not a good thing at all. The officials don't smile at that. And one more time, you go back to the keys of the race, and one of those is not making mistakes and getting caught up. And Richie Stanaway behind the wheel of the 98, second in GT Daytona after pit stops cycled through, is going to have to serve a penalty. Andrew?
Ryan Hunter-Ray here. That was really intense in the Visit Florida car.
Yeah, I love being here at Sebring. This race is an absolute blast. But the Visit Florida DP was really, it was a blast to drive on new tires. But once it went off, we just had too much understeer to keep up with those guys. The cooling fan in the car stopped working. Feels like it's 140 degrees in there, so it's a pretty good workout at the same time.
And are you done for the day now?
I think so. I'll be here on reserve while Mark's in the car, but I think so. Not sure, but I'm ready to go if they need me again. But with all the cooling fans out, I'm used to that open cockpit. I need some air.
You're hoping to do some more sports car races this year?
Yeah, I'll do the double at Long Beach, the IndyCar race and the IMSA race at Long Beach, and then I will do Petite at the end of the year as well. So it's great to be along with this team. We're having a blast. We're getting the car dialed in. I just love different forms of racing, always being in different cars. You know, last week was St. Pete, this week Sebring, and they couldn't be any more different. So I'm really enjoying it.
Well, we've got Scott Dixon coming to Le Mans this year. We would like to see you there.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to do it with Viper a couple of years ago, but the official test conflicted with the Detroit GP, so couldn't do it. Absolutely going to do it at some point. It's a must-do for me. So hopefully that day will come later. But right now, IndyCar is the focus.
Well, we'll keep focused on what's happening here. It's really intense.
Thank you.
Is that an awesome shot or what?
Yeah.
Down there looking down at the infield, and you get an idea of just how massive the facility is. But Ryan Hunter-Ray, another one of those guys that when he speaks, you can hear the passion in what he says. He's a racer. That's what he wants to do.
When was the last time someone did a sports car and an Indy car on the same weekend?
Don't ask me that.
See?
I want to say it's been done, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll leave that up to Rick Radicek to look up.
What that's about is, I think that's the only conflict that Ryan Dial has this year with WEC.
Andrew, you want to add?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? Because, you know, it's a Saturday-Sunday race at Le Mans, so you couldn't do it in the same weekend unless you, I seem to remember Mario Andretti doing something similar in the past, but of course, he would have to do a very big Concorde run back to America maybe to do it. So I don't think something that happened. But what Ryan was saying is that he couldn't do that previous time because he couldn't do the test. But as we heard that Platinum drivers now don't need to do the test at Le Mans, even if they haven't raced there before, which seems very sensible to me.
I think it's very sensible. In fact, when he said that, it was kind of surprising because that's exactly what Scott Dixon is doing. He's going to concentrate on the IndyCar race at Detroit, which obviously is his main job. That's the weekend of the test at Le Mans, but he gets a bye because he's a Platinum driver, and certainly Ryan Hunter-Reay is a Platinum driver as well. I guess at the time, maybe a couple of years ago when he was involved with the Viper program, that was not
I suspect it was probably something that that Ganassi and Ford had been working on, and why that announcement came as late as it did.
I would think so. Albuquerque continues to lead over Dane Cameron, just a little over a second in hand, but it's less than a second now. I mean, I look at the distance there, and Cameron looks like he is up on the wheel big time as you watch them work through 15 and 16 and onto the back straightaway. No cars in between them, and that's going to give him a shot.
We'll get a really true read on the speed here because they're not in traffic, open track.
Be interesting to see. It was 1.2 seconds at the line the last time by. This time 1.20, so he picked up 2/100ths of a second. But you know what? Every little bit counts, doesn't it? Because you got to be there. There's traffic in front right now. Albuquerque's closing in on GT traffic as they head to the infield, and this could give the opportunity to Cameron to close down. Indeed, right now they do catch traffic through one of the tighter sections of the course, and Dane Cameron right there on the rear wing of Felipe Albuquerque. But now he'll have to get by the GT traffic as they head down towards the hairpin.
Oh man, that's talk about how hard it is. You just have to, he took a look to the inside. I think it's the Krone Audi.
We talk about traffic gives and it takes away. Right there, it gave to Dane Cameron, and it took away a lot of the lead for Felipe Albuquerque. But you can't allow yourself to get frustrated. You've got to focus forward. And I look at the dust that comes up in the braking zone. I think some of it's off the brakes and some of it is off the racetrack. We saw that little bit of smoke earlier and we questioned it. But as I look at the other cars doing it now, I just think that with the braking systems as tired as they are, as much brake dust is coming off of those cars. That's what we're seeing in the headlights. Cameron now focused on the Corvette in front. Of course, the thing you got to think about, you always say race people like you would race your teammate. Well, this is his teammate in front of him.
That was close. That was close, and the light, it wasn't very well lit from the side. Fourth place car.
Man, it lurks around every corner. Every single corner. There's a chance that it can all go wrong. Somebody spins, they go to refire the engine, the lights go off for just a second. You come around the corner in darkness, and there the car is, and we had a close one there. Take a look.
Number 85, Kenton Cook.
And they've had problems today, and then when he pulls back onto the racetrack, there's the Corvette. Oh.
Now that is a guy, Tommy Milner, just looking ahead all the way around the corner into the dark, really, and made it look not very dramatic.
To whom?
Well, I mean,
it looked dramatic to
me.
His
heart rate might have gone up, but it looked like he saw, I got this. Now the gap's down under a second like this. It's a little bit different. It's tougher when you've got a second and a half or so. You can actually kind of pick your sides, wait a little bit. Now that there's someone right on you, every time you choose left, you can have that same situation that you had with the GTLM battle with the Porsche and the Corvette. You choose right, the other guy chooses left. And so the guy coming that gets to the traffic first, it's really at a little bit of a disadvantage because he's got to commit before knowing whether it didn't have time to let it play out, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
So impressed with Felipe Albuquerque. I mean, it looks like he's been able to pull out maybe another car length from what we had before. But, I mean, obviously you talk about the level of the driver that he is, focused forward, but a car that he doesn't drive on a regular basis, on a racetrack that he doesn't know, and yet he's fighting with one of the best in this category over the last season or so, and a young talent who's plenty hungry in Dane Cameron, and this is just a great battle to see. And while there's no traffic directly in front of them right now, they'll catch it at some point in time, and they'll catch more than just one car. They'll catch another battle, and then it's just, it kind of becomes a crapshoot. You move one way and hope that the competition moves the other. 0.8 of a second at the line that time by. So indeed, Albuquerque able to pick up 0.3 of a second. We said he looked like he gained a car length or so. And if you're Dane Cameron, you're frustrated by that, aren't you? You see that gap that the crew tells you, and you're like, where was that? What do I need to do? Where do I need to try a little harder? Where do I need to try maybe not quite as hard as I did? I mean, that's where it could have gone, right?
Yeah, you heard Hunter Ray saying that, one of the things as the laps got into the stint, he picked up some push. Maybe there's a slight difference between the two cars in terms of their balance. But it does look like Albuquerque is inching away.
But unlike an Indy car that Ryan Hunter-Reay is used to, on the next stop, you can change air pressure, but you can't reach up. You can't have a crew member reach up and dial a little more front wing in or something like that. The adjustability on the fly just isn't what it is in an open wheel car with wings with adjusters on them. So whatever they've got, he'll have to work with, as we hear a lot, the tools in the cockpit, the sway bars that they can work with, and maybe air pressure adjustments on tires. But other than that, that's about it, isn't it?
I'm not, to be quite honest, I'm not sure what the toolbox is, so to speak, on a current DP car, if they have some other stuff. But I mean, the stops, what you've got an issue now is with time of the car at rest. If you're not doing a driver change, you don't want to spend any more time at rest. And so, I mean, we've seen this not just all weekend, for the last several years. This Action Express team running two cars.
And now we're into traffic, and we're also being told the 52 has gotten past the 54 to lead PC. This battle just too good to leave. And you see him working through traffic there, and perhaps, no, Cameron closes it down a little bit, 1/10 that time, and he used traffic to his advantage. But now Dane Cameron is going to catch traffic in between 1 and 2. And this could cost him a couple of tenths. You gain a little here, you lose a little. No, he gets by easily. Dane Cameron doing all he can to hang on to the back of the number 5, Felipe Albuquerque. Identical chassis, identical bodies on these cars. We talk about Corvette Daytona prototypes. There are several of them out there, but underneath, these cars are Coyote chassis. The Corvette from Wayne Taylor Racing has a Dallara chassis underneath. That affects really more the mechanical grip of the car and not quite the aero. But these two cars, in a sense, identical. Come out of the same shop, the same trailer.
And they just, I mean, they're kind of a benchmark. They never seem to have off weekends. They never seem to be behind the 8 ball. This weekend, they've been 1-2 in almost every single practice session. Got pipped for the pole by Pla.
You wanted it to be Pippo because it works better that way.
Yeah, it's a better headline.
How frustrating is it to be Dane Cameron right now to see that car in front inch out just a little bit and not be able to reel it in? He got close when they got to traffic, but that came off at speed, and that's not good. It's going to bounce back out towards the racing surface. It hasn't fallen over yet. My question is, where did it come from?
Yeah.
Because you would think that the car that it came off of,
size-wise, that looks like a GTD
car.
car. I would say a GTD car looking at that wheel.
Full course caution, pit lane closed, and almost an immediate call. And I don't care if the car was able to limp back around, that needs to be removed. This is caution number 11, and it really is going to be able to give everybody a chance to kind of collect their thoughts and get the competition back under control. Alessandro Balzan was 4 seconds behind Alex Riberas in GT Daytona. Earl Bamber was 20 seconds back from Tommy Milner in GT Le Mans. Colin Brown was 5 seconds behind Tom Kimber-Smith in Prototype Challenge. And we saw how close the battle was in Prototype for the overall lead as well. And this is just going to reshuffle the deck, put everybody back together, and off we go again. My question is, where's the car with the missing wheel? Or possibly the 22 of Lee Keene. Long shot down the straightaway. Was it that car that's turning through the corner right now? It is, but I couldn't see the car
Porsche,
number.
GTD Porsche.
Really difficult to see in that light and get a really good idea of exactly who it was.
Unless somebody was carrying a spare.
Unofficially, they say the 22, Lee Keen in the WeatherTech Porsche.
Which,
Tell you what. Oh, there's the 22, and yeah. He needs to buy a lottery ticket.
yep, there we go. Mystery solved.
Because it's the right rear, and had that happened about 3 seconds later after the turn in for turn 1,
Yeah.
the result wouldn't be as good as it is right now.
You know what it was? It was a left. It was a right front.
Was it the front?
It was the right front. Yep.
Man, that could have been absolutely huge. The question is, why did it come off? Typically, the wheel nuts have what I call keeper pins on them. They're little tabs that stick out after the nut goes over them.
It was 7 laps after its last stop, I believe.
Any type of a keeper, and they all have some type of device that keeps them on there. It didn't work that time, obviously, but they dodged a bullet big time, because even if it wasn't the rear, just the front, had he gotten into that corner with all the loads on the car and it departed at that point in time, it would have been big.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that obviously qualifies as emergency service.
Yeah, I would say that that's the case. The question is the car okay after driving it around for that period of time? Chassis reasonably stiff. I'm sure that there were times when it was on the ground. I just don't know how much it did rub. 1 hour, 23 minutes. About half of a normal sprint race for the WeatherTech SportsCar Series.
So now we're into, now that we're in it, this is a full, we're going to have the full procedure. So in terms of the window, nobody is going to be able to go without another stop. So I suspect the prototypes might stop and then opt for a splash towards the end.
Yep.
Be interesting to see how they play this.
So the question, though, is, there's another look. There's Lee Keen
That's
going
coming
by.
into
There's
the
some
final
sparks.
corner.
Yeah. Through 17.
Amazing
on the way
with
to
3
pit in.
wheels, it's still.
He wasn't going real slow, was he?
No, and through this corner he can go a little faster
Yeah.
because it's leaning. How's that go?
It's like a sprint car.
Picked a fine time to leave me.
Loose wheel, yeah. You had to go there, didn't you?
I did.
Let you get the tweets on that one.
So we had a big change at the top of PC. Colin Brown back in the 54, and Kimber Smith has gotten around.
So that must have happened on a pit stop. They stopped within a lap of each other, and so I wonder if something went wrong in the 54 pit stop.
Well, just a driver change.
Yeah.
It might have taken just a
sure.
little
The driver
bit.
change may have done that. But you talk about it. You're going to have at least one more stop. So if you have one more stop, when do you want to take it? Do you want to make that stop as soon as you get into your window so that you're good to go from that point in time? I would think that you would, but you?
Well, I think that's a good question. That's a good question.
Come on.
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean, you it's too big a risk
Yeah.
not to. Theoretically, you know, you could have someone that doesn't have a shot otherwise could try to somehow, I'm not sure what edge you would get by going into that, but say you have the Delta Wing or someone like that, could try to do their stop later.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't do that, what you're looking for is a Hail Mary. You're looking for something that can get you to a place that you may end up with an advantage. If you're playing the game straight up and you're up front, I don't know why you wouldn't make your stop as soon as you can.
With the way the yellows fall, and also especially with these yellow flag procedures in terms of the wave arounds and so forth. Now, I mean, and then actually they close the pits. They do the abbreviated yellows if you get into the last 30 minutes as well. So you definitely want to have your last stop done, because that would really ruin your day if you held it too long and then you got a yellow and couldn't stop.
So your answer is?
As soon as the window opens.
So this is why you're not sitting on a pit box, because it took you a long, long time to make that decision.
Because I'm having to think about other things, like how do I get along with you?
You're sitting way down on the other end of the table.
Now
you can probably reach me from here as long as your arms are, though. So yeah, Prototype Challenge is going to be intense. If Tom Kimber-Smith stays into the end, you got Colin Brown in the 54. He is the fast guy in that car. And when I look at the new equipment, the new electronics that they run on the Prototype Challenge cars, I don't think there's a team out there that has a handle on it any better than Core. Jeff Brown, Colin's dad, engineering there. He's worked with those systems before. He knows them well. And they've just been the class of the field throughout practice and qualifying. But Tom Kimber-Smith certainly knows how to get the job done. We talked about that before, so that'll be interesting to see. Up front, Albuquerque, Cameron, Goossens are all right there, but don't leave out Mr. Durrani. I think he wants to make amends for the contact that he had a little bit earlier. What else do you see on timing and scoring screen that we need to watch?
Well, I mean, I think all the prototypes will stop now, because it's close to exactly to stop. If you can go 40 minutes on time now, as they all come in. Okay.
Leaders are in. Justin. All right, so tear-off's coming off the 5 and the 31. They didn't touch the windshield there, and man, they came out nose to tail.
Although the 90 car.
Oh, look at the 2. Look at the 2.
And the 90.
And the 90. Interesting.
Yeah.
A little bit longer stops. They'll get held at pit out. Interesting. The 90 and the 2 both passed the 5 and the 31.
This is going to be good.
See, you didn't have to worry about watching the first 10 hours. It's like a basketball game.
I mean,
it's all going to come down to the last little bit.
I mean, based on my calculation, I mean, you need a full tank of fuel, but it seems like they had to have short-filled at least the 2.
Just for track position.
Yeah.
Let's try Justin again.
Can you hear me? I'm down here in the pit lane. Can you, or can you not?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. I tell you what, I just did the best call of this race, guys. It was extraordinary. And they're going to write about it for decades, in another 50 years. I was just saying that when the 5 came in, obviously all was fine. I had to listen to you two nauseatingly ramble on for about 20 minutes.
That's because you wouldn't talk.
But when they came in, they actually peeled off the tear-off, because I thought I was. Anyway, they took tear-offs on all the top running cars. That's what's happening, Tommy. You know what it's like out there. Even though it's dry, there is a layer of dirt and grit that just is grimy, and it's like your road car after a road trip. It just covers the windshield. So at this time of night, obviously the way the lights are, thankfully they have enough tear-offs left. Clean pit stops for everybody. It's nice and cool down here. Is there anything else I can add? I'd like to thank my family for allowing me to do this, or at least some of them.
Hey, JB.
Anyway, guys, no, it's all good fun down here, and I think you're right about the strategy to the end. Yes?
Yeah, on the 90 and the 2, was there a noticeable short fill, or?
There had to have been a short fill on the 2.
Yeah, had to be.
Yeah, there was a short fill, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you could see it because the 5 actually did a full fill, in terms at the front there, but the 2, when I turned around, way shorter. I thought I was going to catch that one.
It's funny because in the wide shot, I saw you in the front of the pits just giving your best report, and look.
Yeah, there it is on the replay. Yeah, he's talking. Look.
He's talking away, and he's pointing, and he's like, and that's the Fetzer valve and the
it was beautiful.
muffler bearings, and
it was beautiful. I use lots of long words just to be impressive this time of night. Okay, well, obviously the pits are going to open for the other categories any minute. We have the Ferrari. I'm standing here by the Viper. And I've been keeping a close eye on Reese because they're looking really hot as well. So action in the pits coming now.
So interesting, we saw games being played by the prototype guys. Now we'll have to see what GT Le Mans does.
And GT Daytona. See, like in GT Daytona, where they can go, say, 53, 54 minutes, they have a little more to play with in terms of a time stop.
Their options. Opens things up.
And they didn't stop too long ago. So they could, they're not needing fuel anytime soon. So I think you might get some splits where some cars stop now, so they have shorter stops under green. You might have some others say, hey, we're going to go with track position, not stop. And we're going to run as hard as we can until the end of this fuel stint.
Be interesting to see. And I look through the leaders in prototype, and while I know Greg and Calvin talked about it a little bit earlier, you've got the Delta Wing in there, you've got the 55 Mazda in there, all being shown on the lead lap, 81. Teams that Elton Julian's team, brand new, the performance that they have running on the lead lap at this point in the race, the Delta Wing making it to this point. Mazda, great to see him back. Even the 70 car just a lap down with Joel Miller behind the wheel, and I think it just shows the strength of the prototype category. It's a lot like GT Le Mans. There may not be a massive number of them, but the competition this year is really, really intense, certainly in GTLM and in prototype as well. And it's really GT Daytona that has the numbers in them, but the fight is good throughout the other classes. And all you have to do is look at the leaderboard with only an hour and 13 minutes to go in a 12-hour race and see that that's true. What's Goosen's going to have when we go green?
Well, you're going to see what he has. The thing about Mark is he's like, he only shows what he has to show. And so in certain practices, you can't see the speed, but at the end of the races, he's a total gamer. So a lot like Ryan Hunter-Reay. And so it's going to be interesting to see. He's pretty cagey too. So now Pippo would not be familiar with Mark, at least on the prototype ranks, because he's been in the GTs for a good while.
So should be coming to green this time around. It'll be interesting to see who's going to be good on cold tires, who's going to be willing to push just a little bit further. And we've seen it throughout the event. It still seems like the Daytona prototype-based prototypes have a little bit of an advantage on the restarts. It's cool that ambient is down, track temperature is down, tires cold. And I don't know who put on this time of night if they were running scrubs or stickers. And that's going to have a difference on how quickly the tires come up to temperature and pressure.
There was some question as to whether the two-car changed tires. We were trying to go back and maybe look at the tape to see if the two-car changed tires.
Well, and that may be
one of the reasons they did that. We saw that at Daytona at the nighttime, so they didn't have to deal with the cold temps.
Hey guys, just to end that speculation, you were actually on it right there, Tom. They did not change tires, and yes, they did short fill. So they're playing the strategy just as you were calling it.
Well, that answers that question.
But does it answer? Can they make it on one more stop if they short fill?
I would think that
it would depend on how much yellow.
I think that they should be able to. Be interesting to see. We're about to find out because the green flag's in the air, and here we go. Now the prototypes
are stuck
back in traffic, and this is where it gets wild, and this is where you've got to be aggressive, hold your ground, but you can't throw it all away. Not at this point, not with an hour and 11 minutes to go. 3 wide through turn 1, and they managed to fit so far. It looks like a 100-mile-an-hour Christmas tree as they work through there, the different color lights. And there is
Mark
Goosen's
visit Florida with a Patrón chaser.
30th, saw the 31 flash by. But man, it's going to take a lap or two to settle down. So difficult to see. Somebody went around.
Spinning.
Another car around. That's
leader.
The 90. Your leader is around in the hairpin. There is another car that had spun. That's the 100. Lucas Luhr, who was being shown second in GT Le Mans, has spun, as has the overall leader. Now Goossens trying to get back underway off in that wet grass. We talked about the mud and the sand. If that gets up in the radiator, overheating could be a huge issue.
He scooped quite a bit up with the front. You could see it hanging on the front of that splitter.
Could see cars beginning to get loose up ahead, but couldn't tell exactly what causes it. It's kind of a stack up. The Luhr is around already. Look for Goossens. Should be coming into your shot.
No, he's already
around.
He's passed. I think that happened. There's a little crown to the road there, and the cars have been stepping out. So maybe get an onboard shot to get a definitive read, or at least show it a little sooner. Wow.
Yeah, it's just a sea of lights as they head down there. A couple of cars straight off in the hairpin to avoid it. And this is, as we were saying, you have to be so careful in the beginning. It's going to take a while for everything to settle down and get sorted through. Cameron now in the lead. Durrani second. Albuquerque being shown in third. So it seems that there must have been contact between the 100 and the 90. Let's check in at the Visit Florida Racing with Andrew.
Oh, and the 31 has gotten around the 2. There's the 2 down the inside.
I didn't really get to see what really happened. I don't know if we got touched there, if he just spun the tires coming off 7 there or wherever it was, but I didn't get to see the replay yet. But no, we did a little strategy on the pit stop to get the lead there and just trying to get, track position, but we just lost a bunch of it. So we'll have to hopefully get a yellow here, or, try to get back on something so we can get back up there and race these guys at the end. I think the Visit Florida car is doing really well. The guys done a great job all weekend, so just want to get that track position back right now.
Now, will you have to stop because of all the muck in the front, or you're hoping it's going to shake? I saw you looking at the temperature.
Yeah, we're looking at temperature right now. I'm hoping that we can just keep going and we don't have to stop. That'll definitely hurt us if we have to come in, but so far it looks okay, so I think we can keep going here.
I'll let you get back to those temperatures. Thanks.
And not the only car looking to get track position back, as we saw Pippo Durrani get past Dane Cameron. Durrani trying to make up for the problem that he had earlier that set them back, leads Cameron as they head down the long back straight towards turn 17. Cameron looking to get a little draft off the GT Daytona car in front, but Durrani with a decisive move down at the hairpin.
31 had gotten around the 2 at some point, and then the 2 came back down the inside into the hairpin. Went side by side, coming off. Wow.
Absolutely intense. Cameron led the last lap. Durrani will lead this one. Wow.
Position.
That's all you can say.
Numbers flashing as they change from 2 to 1 and 1 to 2.
Now Dane needs to just regroup, focus forward. We're talking about the frustration before when Dane was giving chase. Let's take a look at how the lead changed with Durrani taking over the spot.
See the 31 on the right with the red light in the middle of the windshield. Out pops the 2 Patrón car to the inside.
Just a stunning out-braking maneuver. I think he used the 66 a little bit. I think perhaps Dane lost him with the GTLM car over there, and then they tried to run side by side off the hairpin. That wasn't going to happen. Just a power move by Pippo. And now what can you do with it?
Well, traffic is where this is going to happen. They're going to be, they're going to be arriving at traffic and trying to make something happen. That P2 car, this is where he had that trouble before, got underneath that Lambo right at this spot.
But keep in mind as well, remember, they did not change tires on the 2 on that stop. He had tires that were more up to temperature than Dane Cameron, and just a lap into the restart, he was going to have a little more solid car underneath him than Dane Cameron did. So the question is, once the laps begin to tick off, what does Dane have as his Continental tires come up to temperature and pressure? Can he fight back?
And how do the 2 tires hang on towards the end of the stint? And with the short fill, how much fuel do they get on board? Can the 2 go to the end with 1 stop? we're pretty sure the 31 can.
Will he have to begin to lean a little bit? And if he begins to lean, will he begin to lose power? Good stuff. This is what endurance racing is all about, and it's been said all day long. It used to be go run a pace. It's not that anymore. It is on it from the drop of the green at the very beginning of the race, and now Cameron with the 54. That is Colin Brown. He's back in the lead of Prototype Challenge, but he is split between Durrani and Dane Cameron. And not only is Colin Brown back in the lead by 14 seconds over Tom Kimber-Smith, so that has been a huge change. He was about 7 seconds behind when the caution came out.
Here comes Felipe Albuquerque.
Oh, now, yeah. Now Dane's got more to worry about.
One taillight out on the number 31.
Required to have one. That means he's got no options left if that one were to be broken or if it were to burn out.
And this is costly.
So the 90 made a quick pit stop, cleaned the windscreen, and know if they were able to blow out the radiator at all. You heard Troy Bliss say our temperatures look okay, but they don't necessarily have to spike instantly. That just means you have a lot of stuff. If you've got just a fair amount of stuff, it may take 15 to 20 minutes for the overheating to kick in. And Dane Cameron cannot get past Colin Brown through this tighter section of the racetrack. And he has got to be frustrated at this point in time. Durrani not even in the shot anymore. Has pulled way out. Durrani just now leaving the bottom of the shot into 17 as Cameron finally clears
And
Colin
guess
Brown.
who that fourth car in line is? That is now Olivier Pla in the other.
Gives you an idea of just how dirty the windscreens are. Now, Dane Cameron, Felipe Albuquerque right there. Cameron, things have settled down just a little bit, and Dane Cameron still trying to hold on to Pippo Durrani, but now 3 seconds in arrears. And as we said earlier, he just needs to stay calm and focus ahead. They've got another pit stop where they can affect some changes, maybe make that number 31 Whelen Engineering Corvette just a little bit better. But what he cannot do is let Felipe Albuquerque by. That would be two stiff competitors he would have to get by if he wants to win this race. Welcome Greg Kramer and Calvin Fish back in. Brian Till along with Tommy Kendall.
And I'll tell you, it's interesting what we've been watching. You guys are talking about that the number 2 didn't take tires, so it's got that going against it, but it takes that car a little longer after a caution to get the tires to come up, so that's why I think it may be gapping them a little bit. But as you pointed out, guys, how long is that going to last?
Well,
well, I think, and he certainly had for a short field. I mean, hit his pit box so much later than the 5 and the 31. They had a short fill, but believe they can get through this stint of fuel and put one more full fuel load in and get to the checkered flag. So I think his hand will be forced a little bit earlier in terms of when he makes that final pit stop, and the other guys will be out there. So it'll really depend on traffic on those extra laps.
You know what? Olivier Pla is not out of this either. He's fourth, and he just uncorked a 154.1, and he's only a second off of Albuquerque.
Well, I mean, we've seen it. It can happen with traffic. It happened with the 90. Mark Goossens down there with the BMW. They got together. It can happen on a restart if we were to have another full course caution. It's Sebring, and anything can and will happen right there. You saw the 5 of Felipe Albuquerque working hard to get past GTLM traffic, and we said every corner on this racetrack has danger that lurks around it, and your race can end in the blink of an eye.
Well, Cameron had to be so patient when he was behind Colin Brown. The top PC cars are only a couple of seconds slower than the prototype cars. They got a lot of pace. Colin's leading the race. He doesn't want to give up any of the gap he has over Tom Kimber-Smith, which sits about 16 seconds, so he was on it. And you got to take a chance, and finally got through, but it's allowed Durrani to really extend that lead up to around 5 seconds.
And we've just tipped into our final hour, gentlemen. Tommy Milner continues to lead GT Le Mans. The number 4 Chevy Corvette has built it up to about 18 seconds over Werner and Bamber in GT Daytona. Richie Stanaway has gone to the lead in the Aston Martin over Riberas and Lally in the Porsche and Audi. Then, of course, Braun, Kimber-Smith, and Kenton Cook, 1, 2, 3, although Cook back a few laps in Prototype Challenge. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you.